Hi, I'm Jared Carter with Carter Physiotherapy, and this video is all about how to avoid and reverse the effects of what we call a silent killer, your desk job. And I'm not saying killer to be dramatic. It literally can shave years off your life. Research has shown over the last 5 or 10 years, many studies have shown that sitting in a very supported way where you're not having to use any of your core muscles, your legs during the day, can literally cause a cascade of effects that takes years off your life. And the kicker is that this is completely independent of how much you exercise before or after you've been sitting at your desk all day. So in other words, you could exercise for an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening, but if you're sitting in a very supported way, rarely getting up for long stretches of time during the day, you cannot reverse the effects, the negative effects of that can actually shorten your life. So there's a number of things that you can do to make sure that that doesn't happen. But the problem doesn't stop there. As a physical therapist, most of our neck pain patients are actually patients because they sit all day long with poor posture, except for those that maybe have been in car accidents. And many of our low back pain patients, they also are very, very influenced, and sometimes their issues are also caused by sitting with poor posture. So this video is going to show you a number of things to not only avoid the life-shortening effects of sitting, but also make sure you're sitting with good posture, standing with good posture, and a few tips and tools, very cheap ways that you can reverse those effects if you've already been dealing with this kind of a scenario for many years. So first and foremost, whether you're at a sitting desk or a standing desk, and we'll talk more about standing desks in a moment, what's going on from the waist up is basically going to be the same. Now, I'm lucky, I'm a physical therapist, and most of my time I'm standing at my treatment table treating patients. At home, where I do most of my desk work, I do have a sitting standing option. So let me talk about the way you want to make sure things are set up. So first and foremost, you want to be able to sit with your chest slightly elevated and your arms relaxed straight down by your side. So you're not out here on a keyboard, and your keyboard, when you do have your desk set up, you're not going to be looking down. So you would have a monitor straight in front of you at eye level, right? Then your arms are able to sit relaxed by your sides, and your hands are going to be resting right in front of you on the keyboard. So if you have a regular desk set up, you want to make sure that you have some sort of variable keyboard tray that you can adjust so that you're not up here too high or down here with too much pressure on certain parts of your wrist, right? So this is generally the posture you want to have. Now, something else to keep in mind, a lot of people either have the text and graphics on their screen set up to be too small, or they're dealing with less than perfect vision. Maybe their glasses have not been updated in a while, and they end up doing this all day to actually lean in and see what's on the screen. So there are ways to increase the size of what's on your screen to help to deal with that. So making sure that your head's not sticking forward, your shoulders aren't dropped forward, because what happens is, if your neck is sticking forward and you drop forward like this, you can see from my one finger to the next, when I do that, you see how they come together, they come closer. So it's a very compressive problem, and that's how a lot of disc and muscle tension issues will occur. I mean, there are so many people out there that have chronic, really painful neck tension, and most of that could be resolved just by changing their posture, and also with the tool that I'm going to show you here in a bit. So if that describes you, stay tuned. You're going to have a really, really good way to help deal with that. But back to the desk setup. Now, if you can have a stand-up desk, I'm a really big fan of that. But for some people, and I say most people watching this, I think the best option is to have a standing and sitting setup. So part of the day you get to stand, and part of the day you're sitting. And when you do sit, I suggest one of these Swiss ball chairs, and you want to have one with a base on it, because otherwise, if it's just a ball on the ground, it'll roll forward and it'll be very difficult to not slouch through the day. So if you have a base holding it in place, and you don't have anything behind you that you're leaning back into, you're going to have to use your muscles all day to kind of support yourself, and that will help to reverse or to avoid those effects I talked about of sitting completely supported and the muscles not having to work throughout the day. Now, if you are going to be standing, if you do have a standing desk option, make sure you're standing and not leaning. A lot of times people in standing desk scenarios, they're leaning a lot, and that can actually compress nerves and cause other issues. Again, from the waist up, you still want to have things set up so you're in this general position. One last thing for when you are sitting down, whether it's a regular chair or a ball chair, you want to set things up such that your hips are slightly above your knees. And what that does is it puts your low back in an ideal alignment where you're not having to really work the muscles super hard all day in order to stay sitting up straight. One of the last things I wanted to say about the sitting versus standing desk is that, again, sometimes some people are not ideally suited for standing all day. So I know there's a big craze on standing desks, and I love that. But I think that if you're dealing with vascular issues or varicose veins or something in the legs, standing all day probably not a great idea. As well as if you have some sort of advanced or at least moderate arthritic issues in the ankles, knees, hips, probably also good to be able to take a quick break here and there, maybe spending 75% of the day standing and 25% of the day sitting. So now let's talk about a few quick things that you can do other than just regularly standing up, or when you stand up. If you are sitting down, you have to stay seated. Try to get up at least every 15 to 30 minutes. There's a lot of great apps out there that you can find online that you can have little pop-up reminders on your computer, or a little chime on your phone or something to just say, hey, sit up straight and go ahead and stand up. And literally just 30 seconds of standing every 30 minutes will do a massive amount to reverse the effects of what would happen if you were just sitting still all day long. So let's come over here and look at a few things that you can do while you have those quick standing breaks. Okay, so in those breaks during the day, every 30 to 60 minutes at least, hopefully, you're gonna put your hands on your low back like this. You're gonna just do some simple back extensions, but notice I'm not leaning my shoulders back behind my heels. I'm letting my hips come forward and keeping my shoulders in line with my heels. That puts a lot less compression on the low back, and you still get the nice extension reversal effect that to reverse the issues of tight hip flexors, which actually connect up into the low back as well. So by doing that and just letting the abs relax and letting the hips go forward, it's gonna be a lot easier on your back. So you do maybe 5 or 10 of those. Another great stretch for the hip flexors is you put your feet just slightly apart like this. The front knee can bend, but the back knee, you're gonna really straighten out. Use your quads to keep that totally straight. And then you're gonna tuck your hips under, keeping the back knee straight. And you should feel some sort of little stretch here. Not everyone will always feel a stretch, but if you're keeping your knee straight and it's behind you and your hips are tucked under, you're not really leaning way back, but you just tuck the hips under, you're really gonna be opening up the front of those hips in a nice way that your body will thank you for after sitting for so much. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is grab the old foam roller, and this and any other tools I have mentioned, I'll put in the comment section below this video. So this is a pretty simple one, very nice way to reverse kind of the slouched posture that we often get into sitting down. So you put it mid-back, you're gonna lace your fingers like that, cut behind your head to support your head, elbows in, close, and you're just gonna do a little bit of rolling first through the mid to upper back. Do a few of those and then kind of set back where you started, hips down on the ground now, and you're just gonna arch back very comfortably. Don't go to a point of pain. If this bothers you, or if you're having mid-back pain, what I should say right now is that if any of this stuff hurts you, or you're already dealing with pain, please see a licensed professional about it before you jump into this. But if you're not having any pain and these are all comfortable, they should be quite beneficial for you. So what I like to do is just arch back a few times and then maybe move down an inch and do a few more, and do that on like 2 or 3 levels of the back, right? And that really kind of starts to mobilize the thoracic spine nicely and open you up. And then you can do a nice chest stretch. So you just kind of have your head supported here, knees bent, and you just relax your shoulders out to the side, forearms are relaxed. And then if that's not a stretch already of the chest, you can squeeze the shoulder blades down and back together to open things up more, and hold that for 30 to 60 seconds. If you can get more than 60 seconds, you're gonna have a more lasting change from that. But next, this is a Theracane. And you can get it on Amazon. It's about 30 bucks, 25, 30 bucks. The way you're gonna hold is you're gonna hold here and here on the 2 knobs, right? And you're going to have your arms rested down by the sides. You're not out like this, because then the muscles you're working are actually working. You want them to relax. So relax the arms down. And you're going to place it kind of right on these upper shoulder muscles. Don't come in front of those, because right in here we have a lot of vasculature we want to avoid. So get in these tense, tight muscles on the back sides of the shoulder. And you just find a nice, tender spot. You don't kill yourself, just a nice, gentle hold on that spot. And then you can rotate the head side to side a few times, and then go straight down, or you can even go diagonal down to the side. You'll feel the stretch coming straight down to where you're holding the muscles, like that. So side to side. If you're right up like this, you might hit, so you have to kind of go out to the side with it again. Shoulders are relaxed down, elbows are relaxed down, and you just kind of moving the head, rotating, side bending, flexing down, and then you can repeat that on both sides on a few different points on the shoulder. Last thing I'm going to show you, no tools needed for this one. It's called head retractions, and it's very simple. You're just going to be sitting or standing upright, and you just work to retract the head. You keep your eyes on the horizon. Some people, it helps to have their finger on their chin and just give a little push back. And between each one, you're not sticking your head out and then driving back. You're just going to your relaxed state and then back, relaxed, back. And I'd say do 5 or 10 of those a few times a day. So those were a number of things you can do with your desk setup, as well as in the short breaks that you're hopefully going to be taking more often now. Very cheap and easy to do. Literally 5-10 minutes of your day dedicated to that could add years to your life and keep you out of clinics like this one with back and neck pain. If you have any questions or comments on any of this, just leave them in the comment section below. Thanks so much for tuning in.